So lately I've been getting a lot of questions on filters. So I thought I would do a quick little intro to lens camera filters for you. First thing, before you go buy a filter, a couple things you need to know. There's two different styles, and that would be what we call a drop-in and a circular. The drop-in, the way it attaches is the holder attaches to your lens and then it drops in to the holder. My God, there we go. And it slides up and down. And the circular just attaches directly to your lens. Before you go buy, you have to know what size lens you're dealing with. Every lens will have a number on it. This one is 0.72, telling me it's a 72 millimeter, telling me that I need a 72 millimeter filter. Your filter will also have a number on the side of it. Mine do, and it says 72 millimeters, so that will fit on that one. Not a problem. Here's the thing. This is a 67. Little number right there, 067. 72 doesn't fit my 67. However, we have step up and step down rings. So, if I'm using a polarizer and it fits on my 72 millimeter and I want to use it on my 67, I put the step down ring on it, step up ring. Now I can attach it wrong size. I can now attach it to the next lens. So if you've got a 77 millimeter and your other lenses are smaller, my suggestion is to buy the largest size, because you can always go down. Very difficult to go up. So if I was to buy a 77, I could get a step down to fit my 72. In fact, I have a 77. I just don't have any 77 lenses anymore. So that's one of the things you kind of need to know. UV filter. Basically, it's just a piece of glass. They say that it cuts down on haze. I can't confirm or deny. But what it is a piece of glass for safety. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I had a buddy of mine actually drop a 72-200 2.8 onto a cement floor. Glass went everywhere, and the only thing that actually broke was the UV filter. So if you're one that fails to use your lens hood, fails to put your cap back on, I would highly suggest that you put one of these on. It will eventually, somewhere down the road, save you a headache of buying another lens or trying to fix a lens from scrapes and scratches. I've seen a lot of people come up with a chip in their lens. This will help. Polarizing filters. They've changed over the last little while, and I want you to take a look at the body of this one and then the body of the other one. Look at the difference between the bodies. So with that, I prefer the thin ones than to the thick one. Does the same thing. This one's just getting old. It's a little harder to move. I might turf it. And the reason for that is when you start shooting 16, 10, 12 millimeters, sometimes the polarizer is going to cause vignetting. And I've found that on a lot of the systems that I've used. Some people say, oh, you're just buying the wrong one. No, sorry. That's why I've switched to the thin ones. So on that one, the next filter we're going to kind of go through is, I still think they're very, very, very useful, is the graduated neutral density filter. I have several of these. And that's a good point too while I'm doing this. This is a drop-in. Now this is a Koken system. This is a Lee system. This is an older Koken and it's a smaller size. So although this is a Lee system, I think this is a 110 millimeter size and this is a 67 Koken system. So these come in sizes too. I would suggest you go with the largest size possible. I've found in my dealings with the most pro-grade lenses, because as you get further in your photography, the kit lens, you're going to want to upgrade to a better lens, and that'll keep going on in the rest of your career. And most of the times, you're going to find that the 100 millimeter, it just about fits everything. Just about, not always, but just about. Another drop-in, but the neutral density, graduated neutral density filter is, I like these. There's also a hard neutral density filter where it's like there's a line drawn across. This one I find is graduated. It covers off most items and kind of peels away. So what I do with this is if I'm taking a photo of a landscape and the sky is blue and the ground is dark and you can't see it, I've got to lower the exposure of the sky somehow. This is how I do it. I will lower the sky exposure by adding graduated neutral density filters. And you can multiply them. I haven't got the second one out, but I'll do it this way. So this may be a 1 stop, this could be a 1/2 stop. Now I've got 1.5 stop. But I can keep adding 1 or 2 or 3 to my system to get that exposure properly in camera. Now, yeah, there's a cheat for this. You can do 1 exposure for the ground and 1 exposure for the clouds and put it together in Photoshop or your favorite post-processing system. You can do that as well. This just saves you that step when you get home. That's all. What else do we have here? So another thing that we have is a true neutral density filter. So this is a 10 stop. Put out by, this one is done by Lee. And before I forget, all these systems you see here, mine are Koken and Lee, but you can have high-tech and breakthrough and all sorts of, B&H. There's all sorts of people that are out there putting filters out. So go on Amazon, look up neutral density filter, and you're going to find all sorts of companies out there. One of the other things, this is again, back to this one. So if you want to, what I call cloudscapes, or smooth out the water, this is what I'll put on. So on the back of this is a piece of foam, and when I jam it into the holder, this always goes in next to my lens. It doesn't go in to the second slot, it always goes into the first slot because I don't want any light leak. This will give me those smooth clouds and the smooth water. Have you ever seen clouds that just seem to flow forever? That's what we're using. Neutral density filter. They come in, well, I've got Lee. So they come in 6, 10, and 15. Also, they do come in a circular polarizer. I don't have one. I know of people who've had them. They like them. I know people who say they cause issues, so you'll have to figure that one out. Okay. Specialty filters. I have a few. We're going to talk about infrared. So this only lets through the infrared light. Again, it's going to cause a long exposure. It's almost very dark. It is red. I can see red here. Hopefully you can see the red. It's another unique way of taking artistic photos. Fun to play with. I have a star filter. It cuts down on the light pollution. So that will cut down on your light pollution when you're taking astro photos. Some people don't use them, some people use them. There's also a new one out. I saw it, I haven't got it. I haven't started to research it. I will do some research on it. It's kind of like a grid filter and allows you to focus. So it's for focusing astrophotography. I haven't seen it yet, but it's out there. Something else you may not be aware of, you might want to talk about. This is a close-up filter. So this is a 500D, it's a Canon 500D. They also make a 250D, and it's basically just a big magnifying glass. Where's my hand, my finger? It's basically just a big magnifying glass. It's kind of fun. So if you don't have a macro filter and you're not going to buy a macro filter, a close-up filter might work. Or, which I've done before, just go get a magnifying glass and stick it in front. It kind of works really cool. One of the other things I wanted to discuss was polarizing filters and how they go in. So the Koken system, and I've seen a couple of them, the polarizing filter actually fits within the unit right at the first, and you can spin it. Really cool. I like that. I think High Tech comes out with the same one, and there's a similar one. When I was looking for a polarizer filter, for the longest time, I would put my polarizing filter on, and then I'd have to attach my Lee system, and then it just got screwy. So I did a little bit of research, and the Lee system came up with, now this is actually a 105. And it screws on to your, and then you drop in your filters in front of that. Now, it was only around, well, it was the only thing around when I was looking for this attachment. I'm sure by now there are better ways to do it. Other thing I want to talk about, these attachments come with different style units. So this piece here attaches to my lens, and then my holder fits into there. These attachments, they make one for wide angle lenses. So your 16 to 24, things like that. This one, the attachment with the threads fits out in front of the lens. The wide angle lens actually is inset. Yeah, I'm sure you can see that. It's inset. So that actually fits around. So, nope, I need that back on there. So we'll see if we can show this to you. So as I screw this one on, come on. It's actually sunk in, so it's pulled back over top of that. And then this one, as you can see, sits over top. So it doesn't pull it back. So my lens, my filters are further away from the lens. So that's just one of those things you should take note of when you're going down to look at filters. Filters I don't have here. If you're still into film and you shoot black and white like I do, there is an orange filter. I like to use the orange filter. It gives me more contrast in my black and white photos. Some people like to use a red. Some people like to use an orange. I use the orange. That's all I have on filters. So if you have any questions, comments, write them below. I'm sure I can get back to you. And maybe next time I'll do another one on polarizers and exactly what they're all about and how to use them a little more and things you should notice. Oh, one other thing. I've seen this a lot of times. So, a lot of people will put on a, oh, wrong size. A lot of people will put on a UV filter, then they'll put on their polarizer over top of that. I used to do this, and there's pros and cons with this, and this is one of the things I want to talk about, was, well, now I've got two pieces of glass in front of my lens. Not happy with that. But because the polarizer turns, I find a lot of people, because they're right-handed, they turn in the direction of tightening. So they turn and they turn and they turn and not realizing that they're tightening their polarizer filter onto their lens. With that, a lot of times now they're stuck because they can't get it off. A lot of guys, if you put on a UV filter, a lot of times you can get the UV filter and the polarizer off. So that's kind of a safety concern as well. So when you're using a polarizer, be very, very careful when you're twisting it not to turn it off, not to tighten it up. All right, so that's your little tip for the day. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on Who Said Photography.